Hey guys, today we are going to be talking about bookkeeping systems and organization. Okay, we're not going to go too in depth in bookkeeping because I'm not a bookkeeper, but some basic systems if you're just starting out. If you have multiple properties, I would very highly recommend you getting a bookkeeper. Or you figure out how to use QuickBooks and you make sure your accounts are all reconciled and you're staying up to date with all of that. If you have corporations, I would even more highly set up a bookkeeper because you have to make sure everything in your corporations are very organized, very clear. You'll need a balance sheet. It's a little bit more complicated than just your own taxes. So first step is you for sure must be organized. Very, very easy to get disorganized and not stay on top of it. And it makes it very stressful for tax season, which is where we are right now. It's March 9th, 2022. Also, if you're working with partners, they're going to want to know what's going on with accounting, bookkeeping, see the bank account, ask questions about receipts or transactions and stuff, and you need to be able to answer those questions. So I would highly recommend that you set up a Google Drive, have one for each property that you're working on. And within the Google Drive, actually, maybe I'll just show you really quick what ours looks like. Google Drive. Into properties. So we have it set up that was like with all of our joint ventures. So some of these actually are no longer active. We've just sold some of our joint ventures recently. So we'll go to personal properties. We have current properties, past properties. So we'll go current. And then let's pick 148 Adelaide Street North. We have taxes for 2020, 2021, 2022. And then we have pictures and typically we'll have like a folder for documents or other information. So in the tax folder, you will have, depending on what I guess you have going on, we have an Airbnb folder. We have one for capital expenses and then one for current expenses or maintenance expenses. And then we also have here is like our property management reports because our property managers will send us a report every month for the rent that we got and then any expenses that we have. So I'd for sure set that up for each one. If you're working with joint ventures, then I would set up a folder like we have for each partner. So you can see here. Let's go back. Okay. So definitely Google Drive, get it all organized, put receipts in there. If you're working with a joint venture, it's a good place for both of you to have access to receipts, spreadsheets, photos, documents, everything. Definitely do not need your paper copies. You don't need a shoebox full of receipts. Definitely put them somewhere that's in a cloud-based. So I'll show you recently, we actually switched over. So we just hired a bookkeeper and it's been the best thing ever. That's why I'm recommending it so much. Don't need to wait that long and do everything yourself. It's just not worth it for somebody that can do it way better than you and way faster than you and has the systems to do it. So now we have QuickBooks. We had QuickBooks before, but it was not organized properly. There are certain ways and things that you want to get set up for your QuickBooks account. So if you're not familiar with that, it may be worth just hiring a bookkeeper or even an accountant or someone to just set it up for you and maybe teach you how to use it if you don't want them to be like working with you on a regular basis. But a new app that we started using that our bookkeeper had recommended was called Dext. So it's like an orange app. You can use it on desktop and your phone. And then we actually will put our receipts on Dext now instead of the Google Drive. And then that gives access to our bookkeeper for all of those receipts. And then it actually reconciles with QuickBooks. So if like QuickBooks will see a transaction, Dext will have the receipt and then they can reconcile with each other. So another option or something that a good tool you should have is SwiftScan or like some sort of scanning app on your phone. So if there's like receipt apps too, you can look into to kind of reconcile, keep track of receipts. But a scanning app is just helpful, not even just for bookkeeping, but for every document you're going to need something. You can very easily take a picture of things and upload it to Google Drive or Dex as a JPEG. But a PDF is nice if you're sending an email for something, like instead of going wherever your office is, or for us, for example, our office is upstairs. So I'm going to walk upstairs. Sounds like not a big deal, but like anything that's like taking an extra step that you're going to procrastinate, you just want to eliminate. So now I can just sign a document, scan it on my phone, send the PDF directly back to the person that needs it. So getting your office organized. Your office doesn't need to be a physical office, can be. If it is, that's great. If not, you just need these things set up to have your office organized. So a filing system is most ideal. We have a filing cabinet that we just got like from a secondhand store. It's nothing fancy. Then got some of the sleeves or like the folders from Staples, put them in there. So we have a filing system for each of our properties. So if we get documents that aren't online, or like our previous lawyer would send us like all of our documents in the mail for closing, we can now put paper copies somewhere where we know we're going to find them. Perfect example is like when we were in Costa Rica, we had people living at our house. We needed access to certain documents that we didn't have online, and we could say, hey, can you go to the filing cabinet, look for this address and pull out this sheet, and people were able to do that. You definitely will need a printer and scanner. The scanner you can get away with on your phone, but having an actual printer scanner is definitely more ideal. Ideally somewhere where like you're going to get a lot of mail. we get so much mail, it's crazy. So an inbox, like a paper inbox essentially. So like if you get mail and you need to like do something with these documents, where are they going to stay until you get to them and deal with them? So we've talked to some of our students who are like, yeah, I even write a piece of paper, write something down and put the paper down. Well, where's that paper now? So whether it's a drunk drawer, filing cabinet, just like a little box or folder, something somewhere where like all of your paperwork always goes. So you're not looking around the house trying to find things. Your email inbox, I would definitely recommend organizing, setting up folders, maybe per property, kind of per topic. You can organize them in any kind of folders you want. We kind of have like buying and selling, refinancing, invoices, e-transfers, coaching, kind of different folders like that, very general, but then at least they're not staying in my inbox. My inbox is getting filled and filled and filled. They're getting full, like put somewhere that I can find them again if I need them, and in an organized way. You can also set up rules and automatic features in your inbox. So things are automatically moved to folders. There's lots of different features. So I would maybe spend some time in your calendar, in your email, and checking out features. Another thing I would set up is, I'm brain farting today. An email signature is great for saying, making yourself look a little bit more professional, off topic from being organized, but who you are, what you're doing, your email address, your phone number, your website, any contact information that you want to provide, have at the bottom of your email as an email signature. You can change that in the settings also. A key system. So if you're managing the properties on your own, you're going to definitely need to figure out how you're storing the keys, where they're getting stored, how you're labeling them, whatnot. It very quickly turns into a shit show. Even if you're trying to stay organized, it's like if you close on a couple of properties and aren't up to date with that system, then it doesn't work well. So ideally you close on a property, you go to the property, and or your property manager goes to the property, whoever, someone goes to the property, checks the keys. Do the keys work? Yes, they do. Okay, let's label them for the address and the unit. If they don't work, throw them out. You don't need them. You don't need to save a bunch of keys that maybe will work one day, because that's not a problem. There's better solutions, and likely you'll never use that key, and it's just going to kind of add to your pile. You'll also need keys like for laundry, coin op laundry, if you're ever doing that. Those require keys to open up and get the coin out of them. So having those labeled, organized, but also deciding if you're going to have like a backup set. So if like you have a set, is there a second set of keys somewhere if you lose all of them, or if you get robbed, or kind of having a backup plan if something like that happens. If you have a property manager, then so now for us, our property manager has all of their keys in their office. So if we ever need to access a property, we just go into our property manager's office, grab the key, sign it out, go in the unit, return it. If we're doing renovations, then we'll hold on to the key until the renovation's done, until it turns over to the property managers and they get the key back. They get to lease up the unit and take over the tenant. If you're doing it yourself, not hiring out property management, another good option is electronic locks. That way you don't necessarily need the keys all the time. So it makes it way easier. You just have a master code, you know what your master code is, you set that up for all of your properties, and then you maybe have some other backup codes that you give contractors and whatnot, so you're not sharing your master with everybody. And then you can set them up. So like we use EasySet for a lock, but there's lots of different electronic locks. And then you're kind of just eliminating the whole mess of keys and giving keys out to contractors or multiple people. And then you definitely want to set up bookkeeping, as I mentioned, make it organized. So we're going to go over kind of all the different systems you're going to be setting up. So checklists for like, so you can do it in different ways. You may have multiple systems you're setting up and for one topic. I'll show you lots of examples of ways we've done systems and talk about them more in depth. But in general, checklists, super awesome. Written instructions or standard operating procedures. Spreadsheets could be like quick analyzers, spreadsheets with lots of different things, rent, utilities, appliances, whatnot. And then criteria. So criteria could just be like price per unit, ROIs needed, things that like you could quickly analyze a deal and you know it's good to go, or quickly analyze a tenant, you know they're good to go or not. So just having some basic things to help you make decisions quickly would be your criteria. So some systems for buying a property. Checklists. So a closing checklist or acquisitions checklist of all the things that you need to do when you're purchasing a property. I'll actually show you an example of that one later on. Checklist for like our service spreadsheet. So maybe you have a list where you're writing down all the average utility costs for your properties. So when you're buying a new property or analyzing a new property, you have an idea of how much utilities are for duplex, triplex, fourplex, any kind of like thing you learn throughout. Ideally, you document, you create a system so that next time it's easier and faster. Same for insurance. Maybe you have a spreadsheet to show how much insurance costs on all of these different properties in different areas. So same thing, you're running analysis, you have accurate numbers of what insurance or utilities cost in these markets that you're investing in. Criteria. So as I just mentioned on the last slide is like maybe you have a cash flow criteria, price per unit, return on investment, cash on cash, figuring out what makes a good deal for you so you could quickly buy a property or jump on offering on a property without spending so much time on the analysis. Systems for your tenants or property managers. So if you're managing yourself, you're going to want move in instructions, move out instructions. So this could just be a quick checklist saying the tenant has done all these things, or their property, whoever's doing it has done all of the proper things for moving in, moving out. That's something you could very easily Google. There's tons of different options out there. Inspections. So if you're doing, ideally you're doing 2 inspections a year, maybe more if you want. I would not recommend any less. So you're having a checklist of all of the things you're going to be looking for when doing inspection. Your main things you're going to be looking for is going to be water, heat, hydro, like electricity. So water, not just like utility water, but like checking the toilets, tubs, sinks for leaks, checking for mold, checking for any kind of mechanical issues, safety issues, and then fire, like fire detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. Written instructions. So something every time you get a new tenant, you have, so we actually had one that kind of covered both of these, how to pay rent, how to problem solve. So it's like, we have a welcome letter. We're like, hey, we are your new property managers, or landlords. We are referring to us as property managers. This is how you contact us. This is how you pay rent. This is how you problem solve. Only call us if there's an emergency. Emergencies include kind of what I just said for inspections, like no water, no heat, no electricity. In the case that like, you know, maybe you checked Integris first. So like with some problem solving features, I guess I would say. So like you don't have electricity, maybe wherever you're investing and you check, you tell your tenants, hey, check the outage map in your city. Like, so Integris, I can go in outage map, Chatham, and I can see, okay, like I can't fix your hydro because nobody has hydro on your street. That's not an emergency. That's something out of my control. There's no point in calling me and telling me you have that issue. Like no heat in the winter, fair concern. But maybe some problem solving things that they should maybe check on first is, has the switch been turned off by the furnace? Like simple problem solving things so you're not getting called on things that could be like a 2-second, like solved in 2 seconds if the tenant had that information. So yeah, calling us if there's a legit emergency, calling the police if you have like noise complaints or certain issues that are out of our control. Yeah, and then spreadsheets. So maybe you have a spreadsheet for appliances, all of the appliances in every property. Do you own them? Does the tenant own them? Because that's something that when you get a lot of properties, you honestly, it's difficult to keep track of. Spreadsheets, like what kind of appliances do you have? How old are they? Maybe serial numbers. So if something goes wrong, you're able to fix them and you don't have to go there, look at the appliance, figure out what's wrong with it, or send someone else out there. You can do a little bit more problem solving if you have these systems in place. Utilities, who's paying utilities for all the properties? So if you are selling a property or some reason you see money coming in or coming out of your bank account and you're like, do I pay utilities or does the tenant pay utilities? You have one spreadsheet that says who pays utilities across all of the properties. Insurance, same thing, making sure your tenants have insurance also. So you could even have a spreadsheet including like what tenants have insurance, which ones don't, what kind of insurance they have, just kind of a peace of mind for you to understand what's going on. And also your policies you could have on there. So we have a spreadsheet saying like how much our insurance is for all of our properties. And so I guess not related to tenant management, but to yourself, what company you're with. So we use a mortgage or not mortgage, we use insurance broker, but they have lots of companies and different options. So just matching up so you know who you're with for insurance, just having it all organized that way. Criteria for tenant application. So you're going to want a tenant application. You can find them online. You can make your own. Maybe you use a property manager or a leasing agent, but you want some criteria for like you picking your tenants. How do you know they're a good tenant? Do you have, are using Neighborly? Like for example, Neighborly is a good option. It costs a little bit of money, but I would say it's worth it in my opinion to get a good overall application review from your tenants. And then maybe you have some standards to say Neighborly, oh, like they must have certain scores on Neighborly. Neighborly must say that they are a good tenant for me to want to pick them. Property managers. So if you're working with property managers, how are they communicating with you? Do they have a software that you can access and you can see what's going on? When do they pay you rent? When do you find out somebody's moving out? So just kind of working with the property managers. Likely if you're working with an already established company, they have systems in place and you will be adapting to their systems. So systems for your partners, if you have joint venture partners, money partners, need to set up a bank account. So maybe you have a checklist of like, what to do when I get a new joint venture partner? Have we set up a bank account together? Is there money in the bank account? Do we have a joint venture agreement? Who's on title? Is the mortgage figured out? Kind of going, making a list of all of the steps that you need to do when you're working with a joint venture. Written instructions. You may have a letter of intent you have someone sign. So a letter of intent is a document saying, so if I was a passive person, I could sign a letter of intent with somebody who wants to be an active partner saying, yes, I will fund the deal if you bring me a property in this criteria over the next 3 months. So then you kind of have a tentative partner lined up. It's not like a legally binding document, but ideally you have some something clear saying that, yes, this person will be your partner on these conditions. Gives both of you a little bit of peace of mind. You know what you're working for. You're not wasting time trying to find a deal for somebody who won't actually end up partnering with you. Spreadsheets. So you want to have some quarterly updates for your partners. Ideally, maybe it's through QuickBooks and you don't need the spreadsheet and you can show them the cash flow, income, return on investment that way, and just reevaluate if it makes sense to keep the property, refinance the property, sell the property, whatnot. Or how you're updating them on renovations. Maybe you have a document or you're connecting them to a project management software you're using or Google Drive so that they can see pictures of updates, what's going on in the projects. And then criteria for your partner. What kind of partner are you looking for? I know at the beginning, depending on what stage you're at. So at the beginning, it's like, yay, I have a partner. You know, the end, not end of your, but like as you go forward in this business, you'll be a lot more selective of who your partner is. So I would recommend you, before you even have a partner, or even if you do and you realize what you do like or don't like, set up some minimum criteria for your partners. What kind of income do they need? How much cash do they need? How much involvement are they allowed to have, or do you want them to have? Things like that. Systems for your contractors. So maybe you have a checklist for your contractor of all the things that you need to do. Often for us, we'll do a walkthrough with our contractor of the project and say like, hey, this is the project. These are the things you want to do. Make a list so it's written down. Both parties can see like, these are all the things that you're supposed to be doing. They can give you an itemized quote of the project. And then you'll likely be making more lists. So like we went the other day, all like looked at a project and said, give kind of like a honey-do list, like, hey, project's almost done, but I need you to fix and complete these things. And then both of you can see as things are getting complete. I'll show you again on Asana, we have a checklist for our contractors. So we can see that information there and then they can update it and we can see where they're at. You may need instructions on what needs to be done, expectations. You may have a contract with your contractor. That would be ideal. It's, I would say, obviously that's the most ideal. Typically, not all contractors have their own contract. So it may be something that you negotiate, it may be something you work with like a lawyer or paralegal to set up, just to kind of protect yourself in that relationship. Although contracts, like nothing is real without paper signed, but at the same time, it's only as good as the paper is written in. So it's like, ideally you have it, but it's not everything. Spreadsheets. So material list is really great. So especially if you're doing the same kind of projects again and again and again, which I would recommend, like making, I know eventually you'll be like, oh, this is boring, but like you can make money on boring. Doing the same task or job or project again and again and again, you're going to get better at it. You're going to get cheaper materials. You're going to get faster at it. You're going to be able to make money by creating repeatable tasks or projects that you can do again. So material sheet is great when you have the same materials, you're using the same materials. Of course, things are going to change as you go, things get discontinued, shortages, whatnot. But ideally, you have a standard list of material that you always get. And if things change, you update it as you go. And then you can send that out to all your contractors. I'll show you that picture, that document also. So it's like, what material is it? Where do you get it? How do you get it? When do you get it? Criteria for selecting your contractors. So what are your minimum requirements for contractors? Definitely you want to make sure they're fully insured. Do you care how many people they have? Do you have a like requirement for how much experience that they have? Are they allowed to work on other jobs at a time? Like what are your standards for a contractor? So creating these systems is going to make it possible for you to scale. Without systems, it's going to be much more difficult. So once you have your systems in place, much more easier to scale and outsource. That's the other thing is like once you have these systems in place, you could hire a VA, you can hire a property manager. You can hire these things out and it's going to be a way smoother transition for somebody else to keep doing. So some helpful apps that we use, there's a million different project management softwares out there, but these are the ones that we recommend or we prefer. Trello is one for tasks, kind of like just a simple task list. I'll show you that. And then Asana is really great for like a long checklist to kind of follow projects. I'll show you that one too. And then a CRM is a customer relationship manager. We would have talked about that back when we were talking about Power Team. So HubSpot and Monday are two options. Again, there's lots of different CRMs. These ones are free. There's likely other free CRMs too, but something I would definitely recommend to make yourself replaceable. So I'll show you Trello. So here, this is how we organize our tasks. We have a done list. We have an important, urgent. So this is the do list, things we must do ASAP. Important non-urgent. So these are things we're going to schedule, do them later, don't need to prioritize them. So this is our priority list. This is our, okay, well, maybe next meeting, Jeremy and I have meetings every week. Next meeting, we'll slide these over into the important urgent and they're going to be scheduled into our calendar. Not important urgent is like things that like should be done quickly, but maybe we can delegate to somebody else to do those things. And then parking lot are just future ideas of things that we'll work on, but not even on our radar right now. And then you're going to very easily, when things get done, you can just slide them to the done list. We also, so Jeremy and I assign things to each other for Here, if you go here, you can see members, and then you can select who is responsible. You can do a label. So we have it set up low, medium, high, and then you can just help you choose like what priority this is. So this is already top priority, like it's on your urgent list, but you can still decide like how urgent is this? So like high priority. So when I come to my checklist, I say, okay, let me fill all of the high priority tasks first, and then medium, and then low. If this whole task is done, then I can go into this week here. And then, so you can go here, filter, and then I'll go just like cards assigned to me so I can see all the tasks that I need to do this week. You can filter by other things too. So you could filter by high priority tasks. Okay, now I can see these are the only things I need to focus on. This is helpful to kind of make it not look so overwhelming. These are the tasks that I'm doing. So you can see right now I'm working on video session 10. I need to finish this because they're going to be uploaded. We're hiring somebody to actually upload everything into Kajabi for us, which is like kind of like Teachable, a software where people can watch videos and learn, and we can kind of see progress of our students. So I have to have everything ready for her by Saturday. So now I know on my task I need to finish these things, and that's my priority. So let's go back. Asana. I'll show you quickly Asana. So you can have my tasks. So my tasks are things that would be assigned to me. You can set due dates for these things. You can say I'm kind of behind. I haven't looked at my task list in a little bit. But even more importantly, I would say is projects. So this is the example of an acquisitions checklist. We do have one, like a PDF version of this also that we can give you access to, and then you can make your own. The huge benefit on Asana is that it's like fluid and changeable. You can work with other people on tasks, and we can kind of like manage your projects together. So this is our standard acquisition checklist. What I would do is I would go here, I would say duplicate, I would change the address 123 Main Street, acquisition checklist, and then create new project. And then all of the same information, I'll just show actually, will be created. So it's creating this right now, start using the list. So here it is. I don't know where else. Oh, it's still loading. That's why. Start using because the list is being created. So I will pull up a different one. So we're closing on some properties. Okay. 210 Park Ave acquisition. So this is the property we're buying it from a partner. We've already done the offer, so ran analysis. We're good to buy it ourselves. We know the GIS map is good. So GIS map is zoning map. If you search your city GIS Chatham-Kent zoning map, you'll be able to find an interactive map. Almost all in Ontario, almost all places now have an interactive map. Some, like maybe very small towns, are still on like a PDF version that you can't interact with. But you can also contact the city and confirm zoning, write up the purchase and sale agreement, and then maybe renegotiate. Once we have that signed, post offer, we're going to set up a Google Drive with any of the documents, maybe the MLS listing, the APS, send the deposit, send the APS to the lawyers, respond to lawyers for requested information, home inspection, appraisal, confirm financing, remove conditions if necessary, get insurance, send insurance to lawyers, set up property taxes, call Integris, call Enbridge, make plans for the property. So do you need to do renovations? If you do renovations, maybe you're booking contractors in, getting quotes, whatever the plan is with the property. Set up lawn care, depending on the property. If you're setting up your own lawn care, if your property manager is doing it, we have a connection. So we use our own lawn guy, we set it up, and then we pass it on to property management. So property management will be set up. You want to set up a walkthrough before the closing date, set up your signing with the lawyer, bring money and deposit to closing. And then you have your closing day. So ideally you have the date in here. And then in Chatham, you have to send a fire certificate for the seller to sign. So that's the acquisitions checklist. And then you can check it off as you go. So I can go, yes, done this task, remove, I can assign tasks to Jeremy. Let's see, we can have due dates of when things should be done. So typically we'll have on here like the closing date, which this one, I actually don't know the date. It's a fluid closing date right now because it's with a partner. So I'll have the closing date in there. And then anytime we're selling a property, I can say, okay, when's closing, and pull it up. So let's see, this is another one we just got under contract. So you can see here, closing date is May 9th. Then we also have one for selling. So this one actually is sold, so I can delete this one now, but you get the signed offer. Do the buyers need to remove or satisfy any conditions? If once it's firm, send the APS to the lawyers. We're going to tell the property managers. Maybe you want to see if the new owner wants to keep your property manager, or they want to have their owner do it themselves. Call Integris, Enbridge, or go online and cancel those services. Water heater, if you're with Reliance or Enercare, whatnot, you may need to cancel insurance, set signing up with lawyer, and then closing day. Another one, we'll do renovations. Okay, so this is kind of like the standard flow of how a renovation goes. But the renovation checklist is the one we change the most because it's going to be very different based on the project. Sometimes we'll change this around and we'll do it per unit instead of per property. So for example, we just did 3 units in one property. They were all being renovated. So instead of having, like actually right here, I'll show you. We had lower front unit, upper unit, upper back unit, common area of like tasks that need to be completed, and then the honey-do list of like just other stuff that needs to be done. But a typical renovation we have here, so designing the layout, paint color, you need flooring, cabinets, doors, trim, countertop, vanity, maybe a bin if you're doing junk removal, porta potty if there's no bathrooms on site. And then you want to schedule all of the people, the demo, framing, HVAC, plumbing, electrical installation, drywall, painters, installation of cabinets, countertop, and then finishes. So then you have everybody scheduled, ideally. Obviously, that may be a little bit fluid. You can go in here and say like due date. So I would say that's like the start date of when people are going to be working. Demo, you can have in here due date of like when you're projected things to be complete, and then you can see if you're on track for your schedule or not. And then going through the whole process. So in some situations, maybe you're not doing framing or HVAC or plumbing or electrical because you're just doing a lipstick right now. And then maybe you can remove some of these things, but I'll just kind of go through it all so you have a general idea. You can add things very easily, like here, you can just add something, you can move it around. There's more features you can do if you pay for the updated, but we get along just fine with the basic Asana, not needing to pay anything. And then we'll just delete this task so you don't need that one. All right. Installation, drywall, mudding, taping, painting, everything, installing cabinets, vanities, finishing touches, tile, whatnot. So that's a renovation. Acquisition. Refinance is pretty short. So if you're planning on doing a refi, you want to email your broker to begin the process. We'll add on here like 2 weeks before finishing reno. Create an appraisal package on a Google Drive, or maybe it's a one-page document that has all the information. Get leases and documents organized for the lender, put that in a Google Drive. You may be meeting with the appraisal at the building. Wait for the appraisal report to come back to you or to the bank, and then you're going to send out documents to lawyer, and we'll say set up signing with lawyer. Good. Renovation. Let's see if there's any other lists that would be helpful. Selling. I went over that one already. Okay. So some other apps Mom already mentioned, you should definitely be using Google Drive for sure, having a cloud-based system for all of your documents. And then Google Drive has so many other features, like you have Google Sheets, Google Slides, all of that stuff is in your Drive. Google Forms, so many different things. So I'd highly recommend Google. DocHub is a pretty cheap software for signing documents virtually. I would definitely pay for that, get it done. Mint is a good one for tracking your net worth. House Sigma, some of these you totally would already know, but I'm just going to go over just in case anybody doesn't have them. House Sigma is great. Ontario for tracking realtor information, or like not realtor information, but information that access that a realtor would typically have and then the general public wouldn't. So it's kind of similar to what a realtor would have, like behind the scenes that you don't have access to. House Sigma does not have everything, but it has a lot of information. Doesn't have all properties. It's not as whole as like what a realtor would have access to, but it's a good opportunity to find some information. If you're not in Ontario, I actually found a link. Send me an email if you can't find it, but I found a thread on Reddit that has soft like websites or apps or whatnot, very similar to House Sigma for different provinces in Canada. So you can have access to some information very similar. Canadian Mortgage app is good for just like quick mortgage payment math if you're in a property and need to figure something out. And then there are rental calculators for your cell phones you can also look up. Again, helpful for just like quick numbers while you're in somebody's property. So here's some examples of some more systems. Rental increases. So when we were managing ourselves, we had to do our rental increases ourselves. So we would keep track of the unit, their current rent, when their rent was last raised. This is my reminder, 120 days. So I should start making the document, getting it sent out. 90 days is when they need the paper by. The percentage of increase. So this year was 1.2%. Now you can see their new rent is this much, and the monthly increase amount is this much. So we have that for all of our properties, or we did. Now we manage, our property manager manage it. So this was really helpful to just send this all to our property manager and they can deal with this and they'll continue to do rental increases from there. Renovation list. And I guess like back on this one, like this is all of the information that you'll need to put on like your form. So if you're filling out an N1, a rental increase, like literally this is all you need. Like your current rent, your new rent, the difference that it's increased the day that it's effective. This is a renovation standard order list. So I mean, like these things are super basic to set up. If some people I know don't have experience with Excel. This is not Excel, this is Google Sheets, but operates the same way. I would watch some YouTube videos of like basic how to use Google Sheets or Excel because it can be very frustrating if you're not familiar with it. For I would say math, for equations and stuff. In terms of just like typing in it, it's not horrible, but there are some things that are very helpful to know. So yeah, we have our description of whatever it is, doors, hardware, SoCR Tab, whatnot, location from where to order from, and then how to order. So our SoCR Tab we get from Noble London. This says they provide delivery to Chatham every day. Please never go pick it up. So look for some wholesalers. I know we talked about this like on the renovation week, but look for some wholesalers. Maybe there's cheaper places that you can get plumbing, electrical, lumber, any kind of smaller companies or companies that specialize in a certain thing. Likely you can get it cheaper, or like if your contractor has an account, then you could from like a big box store. So we have a number here to call. Please use this contractor's account. Some things we get from Home Depot, some things we get from Amazon. So just having it very clearly laid out here, pictures of what the things look like, maybe links of where to order them or how to order them, any notes just to make things easier for everybody. Rent collection. So we were using Buildium when we were managing ourselves, which is a property management software made out of the States. We really liked it. Still fairly expensive, but when you look at the grand scheme of things of moving everything to property management, a lot more expensive to do that. But because we had all of our bank accounts in all of our joint ventures were separate bank accounts, we had our personal properties were separate bank accounts, a lot of separate bank accounts. We were not accepting automatic auto deposit for e-transfers. We had to manually accept rent into the different bank accounts. So we needed to have it organized of like how people were paying, because people also had different options. A lot of people were paying e-transfer. Some people were paying post-dated checks. Some people were doing direct deposit. So having somewhere where you can easily quickly see how everybody's paying, how much they're paying, what bank account it's going into is also helpful. So you can see here, post-dated checks, e-transfer, direct deposit into TD property management account. E-transfer password, ideally you give everybody the same password. Rent123 works really good. Sometimes people will make it all sorts of different things like Lauren, the rent, rent 08, or they just change up and go back and forth. So trying to keep track of those kind of things. How many, so like when we did checks, we said you had to provide 3 post-dated checks at a time. We were not picking them up every month. So how many checks we had at a time. Any sort of insert like important notes. So like this person got $40 discount for doing garbage, things like that. An Airbnb shopping list. So we have one of those. You can get that from my Instagram bio. It'll get sent to you. Yeah, super helpful. Whenever we go set up a new Airbnb, we just have a checklist, a shopping list of everything we need to order. Some of them have links connected to Amazon or different websites of products that we use often. And then a rental ad template and response. So if you're listing things yourself, your standard ad should look the same. Like, so instead of recreating the wheel every time, you just have a template of like all of the things you need in a rental ad. What's the price? What are the amenities? Location? When is it available? Anything like that, and have that posted, and you can just change it when you get a new property. And then a response. So are you asking, I know we talked about this in the property management one last session, are you asking people the same question every time? Like, hi there, thanks for your interest. Please tell me a little bit about yourself and those looking to rent. Or maybe you have 3 questions that they answer, or maybe you're inviting everybody to your open house. Whatever it is, instead of like typing things out a million times, have something you can just copy and paste and send to every single person. So some tasks for you. Set up a Google Drive and folders if not already. Get a scanning app on your phone. You should definitely have a printer and scanner at home. If you, well, either way, definitely have a printer and scanner home, and also download the app for some scanning. Research some property management apps or project management apps. Start using them. So maybe Trello, Monday, Asana. If you're familiar with another one, totally fine. But I would highly recommend a project management software. Set up 3 systems, any ones you want. It will save you time later. So this could be any of the checklists, spreadsheets, documents, anything I just talked about. Talked about a whole bunch of different systems. Maybe you already have an idea of something that's not working well for you, and you can figure out how you can make it better, how you can systematize it for the future. Post on social media about one of the systems you created. You can tag us if you want. Keep going on social media. Some of you are doing awesome. Some of you are really struggling or not enjoying it. So this is why we're encouraging you to giving you something tangible that you can post, something that you can share with people to start working on building your own brand. Set up bookkeeping if not already. Either get your QuickBooks set up or hire it out to somebody else. Alrighty. That is everything. Okay, if you have any questions or any more systems or anything you want to share, let us know and we will talk soon.